Hello, slow parenting family from across the globe. Welcome again to another interesting edition of the Slow Parenting Podcast. My name is Richie Adewusi. Welcome. And regardless of what time it is, wherever you are reaching us or rather joining us from, is that time of the year when we begin to plan shopping, actually go shopping. Um, Pull up the pen and paper and begin to craft a New Year resolution, right? Okay, but don't go too fast. We're still here. This is still 2024. So welcome to the Slow Parenting podcast. And this edition today, still the same time we meet every Wednesday of the week, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. We look at an interesting issue that would help us to do our parenting jobs. This season 4, we've been looking at the lighter side of issues, okay? Important issues, but then taking them from the lighter side, okay? So today, we're picking up one of such lighter sides, lighter but serious. Yeah, they're all lighter, but they are serious issues that we have to deal with. And today, we are going to be looking at what it is we say with our spouses, our partners, especially when we have children at home, around, okay? When we have children, young children at home, or children of whatever age, everybody has their freedoms, eh? Like we agreed on that earlier on in some other episode that freedom is universal. Your freedom stops where mine starts. So even in the home, the children have their own freedoms, rights, freedoms. We also as parents, or you also as parents, have your rights and freedom in every area. So, and the issue we're looking at today as well, you are not going to go and make a habit of renting an apartment elsewhere to go stay with your partner or your spouse if you need to make use of the third room. Yeah, okay? Now it's still your home. But then by the time we see the by the time we see the video we picked for today's program, maybe we understand that there are certain things that we need to put in place even at home. And that's where the issue of boundaries coming. Okay, that's where the issue of boundaries coming. So today, our topic is, or our discussion point is, what are you saying? They are listening. Your children are listening. They're paying attention, in ways that you didn't even know were possible. They hear what you say, okay? They will understand them in their own ways, which maybe should not get you into a panic. But then also remember that not all children grow at the same rate. So their understanding of issues are also different, okay? While you think, oh, he doesn't know what this is all about, some other person, okay, maybe especially when they're amongst their age mates and playmates and they begin to have those kind of discussions, if they do, they'll be like, come on, you don't know what that means? Oh, the discussion you refuse to take or you fail to, make at home gets made outside, and your child gets, taken into an area that you didn't prepare him or her for. It could have lots of different kinds of effects in your relationship with that child or those children. Okay, but let's not get ahead of ourselves in the program today. So we are looking at the issue of what kind of discussions are you making with your spouses, with your partners at home or anywhere where you have children around you. Okay? Why are we asking that question? The reason is because they are listening. They are listening, they are paying attention. So you need to be able to either, well, clean up what you're saying or be prepared to have some uncomfortable conversations to clear yourself and clarify the issues that will be raised as they will ask questions. Okay. It's not a bad thing that your children ask questions about things that actually make you uncomfortable. It says you are still their go-to person for clarifications. So that should make you feel good. That should actually make you feel good, because what it means is that you are in a place and a position to be able to give those needed clarifications. But we are not going to see that in the video of today. The parents in question in the video were too embarrassed to even, it's like, is this happening? Are you for real? Where did this come from? Yeah, it came from the discussion you were having, and you're not sure, you didn't know your child was listening, was paying attention. They do pay attention. They do listen to you. They do want to be with you. Okay? So at certain times when they are not with you and want to be with you, they could hang around environments that they are not supposed to be at certain times. But it just says they miss you. Okay? They just want that attention. That's why we say the time they ask questions that could embarrass you get to become teachable moments where you revisit maybe certain boundaries, or you agree on certain boundaries if they were not there initially. Okay? So before we get to see the video that's the source of our talking point for today, I just want to say to parents, again, we can't be tired of saying that. Communication, open, two-way, uninhibited, non-judgmental communication between yourself and your children is the biggest steroid you need for your family bonding. So anything that gets in the way of open, sincere, uninhibited, non-judgmental communication between you and your children, you should not let that thing stay. You should not let it, settle. Okay? So especially when the issue has to do with reproductive health, especially for young children. Depending on their ages, you break down what the issues are and respond to their curiosities, their questions, their interrogations with age-appropriate responses. Okay? So without taking much more of your time, we're going to go ahead now and see the video today. Okay? I didn't want to break exactly what it is, but then let's get to it. After the video, we'll be back to talk about it. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Where's the puppy?
What puppy?
I heard Daddy last night saying if you want a doggy, and you said yes. So where is it?
Welcome back. It's a very short one. It's not long. It's not a long video at all. Well, if you didn't get it, or if you're going to be seeing this later, of course you will see in the video when we upload the video to YouTube later. This is a live stream. If you missed it on the live stream, I will tell you what the video is about. Now, a child walks up to the parents who are still, well, in bed in the morning. Okay, they are not gotten out of bed in their bedroom. And the child goes, "Where's the puppy?" The mother said, what puppy? What are you talking about? What puppy? He said, "Well, last night I heard when daddy asked, 'Do you want a doggy?' And he said, 'Yes.'" And the parents were thoroughly embarrassed, both of them. The father couldn't even respond, couldn't do anything, just, covered his face and was like, wow. And the mother was like, like she was in a hair salon trying to shift her hair into different positions, but didn't still get to say anything, at least not in the video. Okay? You are perfectly right in your home to be free with your partners, with your spouses. But the children too are members of that home, remember? Okay? They also join in your conversation. Maybe not all your conversation that should join in. There are a number of issues that are raised in that video, and we'll visit them one by one. Okay? Number one is what we started with. Be mindful of what you say to yourselves, spouses, partners, when your children are around, because they are listening. That's the first thing. The second thing is, in that video, the issue of boundaries was raised. We are basing our discussion and responses purely on what we had from the video. The child says, "Last night I heard," where were you when you were hearing? If it was last night and mommy and daddy were already in their bedrooms, that must mean they must have talked you into your bed to sleep. So where were you when you were getting to listen to hear what they were saying? The parents need to ask that question and settle that matter. If you have been talked in to go to bed, you don't have any business getting out of your room and then snooping around to hear what is being said. You need to deal with that. You need to deal with that. Then on the part of the parents, why would your bedroom door be open? Okay? You have children around, and both of you are, well, in some intimate positions and processes and all of that. And your bedroom door is open. Why? Your bedroom door should not be open when you are in intimate positions, processes with your spouse, with your partner, your children are around. It's a simple issue of privacy. The children should also learn from that. It would be a case of, look, whenever this door is closed, mommy and daddy are in here, don't even bother knocking on it. That's a boundary. You set it. Everybody understands it. They know, oh, well, the door is locked. Mommy said we should not disturb when that door is closed. So you have to first now get to be the one to lock the door. Yes. Okay. If the children now if they now have the guts or reasons to now come, even after all of that, to knock on the door, then you know that something serious is going on. Then you know that that thing must be more serious than whatever is happening in the bedroom. So you need to get up and go attend to it. And then if it was something frivolous for which the child or the children are knocking on the door, you also deal with it. We agreed on this. I thought we had agreed on this. Don't knock. You deal with it. So that everybody has an understanding of where their right stops and where the rights of some other person starts. Boundaries. Okay? Now, what was that child doing? From the video, it wasn't obvious that they shared a bedroom. with the child. No. The child was actually walking in from another section of the house into that bedroom, which should mean that the child has a room, or their room, or his room, or her room. It's a female child. Okay? So what was the child doing to now be eavesdropping on the parents? You need to cut that out too. That's not good. It's not respectful. Okay? It's not a good behavior for you to go listening to what other people are saying. Not even just you as their parent. Okay? Don't go eavesdropping on the conversations of other people. A community member is asking, how do you think parents should handle situations? Let's just get to that. How do you think parents should handle situations where their kids ask them explicit or uncomfortable questions after overhearing a private conversation? This is one. We're handling one already here now. This was the private conversation the parents had. It was explicit there, and the parents obviously are very uncomfortable in that video. And handling it is what we are talking about here now. First of all, mommy and daddy there's no problem. Okay, let's get that right. Mommy and daddy were discussing something else, which is for adults. Okay, yes. For the age that that child was in, there's no need to go into descriptions. Okay, usually adults freak out, become more concerned when children ask certain kinds of questions. And that becomes a reason for which, in some places, in some cases, in some cultures, such children are considered wayward. They're beginning to exhibit bad behavior. No, the child is just being a child, it's just asking questions. And it's not asking for you to give any response that is beyond that child's age. During trainings where, with parents, in parent-child relationship issues, especially on reproductive health issues, I always ask one question. I ask parents, when you are leaving for work, either mother or father, and your child says, mommy or daddy, buy me an aeroplane when you are coming back from work. I ask, which aeroplane do you think that child is talking about? And at the meetings, at the trainings, at the workshop, they will say, oh, well, the toy aeroplane, different kind of responses. And I would tell them, no, the child was not asking you for a toy aeroplane. The child means the real aeroplane he sees in the sky or he sees in the movies, that's the one he wants. But wait for it. When you now return home with that toy aeroplane in a park, and you hand that park to that child, what happens? They're like, oh, you'll be disappointed. No, the child will not be disappointed. The child will be excited. He has an aeroplane. As far as that child is concerned, that's a real McCoy. That's the one in the sky. So we panic as adults when children ask questions. The same way that child would feel satisfied after expecting an airplane in the sky and come back home and give that child an airplane in a box, it's the same way that child would be satisfied if you give responses that are appropriate to the age of that child concerning that thing for which you're feeling uncomfortable. I'll give another example here. Condoms. Okay? A child walks up to you and said, mommy or daddy, what's a condom? Parents freak out. Where did you hear that from? How did that come from? No. Where that comes from is no longer necessary. The child has heard. You need to clarify. And the child, why do parents or adults panic when children ask such questions? Parents or adults panic because they begin to think, how do I begin to explain this to this child now? You know, you are thinking about use, processes, description. That's not what the child needs at that point, at that age. No, let me clarify this. A 4-year-old that's asking what's the condom, the response that child should get should not be the response that a 15, a 13, even 12-year-old child gets or should get if he says, what is a condom? A 12, 13-year, 14-year, 15-year-old that is asking, what is a condom, is already beginning to talk about sexual activities with the friends, or the friends are already beginning to pressure that child. So the child is only come to you for help. So you need to sit that child down, whether it's a male or a female, and explain what the condom is meant for in detail. It's not the same for the 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, no. The 4-year, 5-year, 6-year-old is talking about, I want an airplane, take a toy plane. Yes. So what's a condom? Well, condom is something that daddy and mommy use when they don't want a baby. You know, but like I always say, if your child, whether it's male or female, is like my son, get ready, get another question out of that one. So be ready, depending on what that child gets to ask next. Respond in accordance with the question of the child. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel inhibited to give age-appropriate questions, even about those issues for which you feel completely uncomfortable. Feeling uncomfortable is okay. You can also escape, or rather postpone, or rather suspend the feeling of uncomfortability by, you can excuse yourself momentarily, not permanently. You can excuse yourself from the child. Okay, don't worry. Can we discuss this later? Okay, just give me like, I would, okay, or come back so time. Agree, but keep that appointment. So if it's an issue for which you're not versed, you don't really have all the information that's needed, go get that information. Or if it was just because you felt uncomfortable at that moment that question is being asked, it's not compulsory you must answer the question at that moment. You're a human being. Take care of the butterflies inside your stomach, you know, find a way to get them out, and then have that conversation with that child. Whatever you do, have that conversation with that child. Don't postpone it. Don't put it off. Don't shut the child down. Have that conversation, because if you don't, somebody else would. And the way that someone else would get to handle those responses might not be in any way that that person will care about the age of the child or whatever. Give the child maybe a complete blowdown. And that person might actually be no other person than the internet, really. He's just a Google. Ask Google what is condom. Okay? But so if your children are approaching you, if they approach you to ask you questions that you feel like, what, where did you hear this from? Don't even ask those questions. Don't bother asking where did you hear from. Deal with the question. Forget where the child has had it. Okay? Mommy, yeah, where's the puppy? Which puppy? Well, last night, I heard when daddy asked you if you wanted a doggy, and you said yes. So where's the puppy? Both parents froze. Both of them froze. They couldn't answer the child. There was none of them responded. Well, they did. They responded with nonverbal communication, embarrassment. Yeah, that doesn't cut it. Doesn't solve the problem. There's no point describing what doggy is in that conversation, because that will go into description of intimacy and intimate processes. That's not what should happen with that child of that age. I don't think your teenage children or any teenager will come to ask the parents, where is the puppy? I heard you talk about doggy. No, no, teenagers will not do that, because they would even be, they themselves will be embarrassed for you if they get to hear you talk. They will feel, you just maybe hear them giggling, maybe at the breakfast table or at the dinner or lunch table. What's going on? Nobody will tell you anything. Nobody will say. They won't be as free as that maybe 4-year-old girl that came wanting to see the puppy. They won't be. But you just imagine that, for no reason at all, you just see them generally just laughing, either when you pass or when the two of you are there, they'll just look at you. And that's teenagers. That's their thing. Yeah, forget whatever gen, what. See, the teenage years in any generation has certain characteristics that, okay, cocoon that age bracket. Okay. And being able to openly discuss certain things, especially personal things, is not one of the things that they are known to do in any age. In our age, the one before me, the one after, the one that's going to be there tomorrow, teenagers, you'll be lucky as a parent if your teenage child is free, very free. No matter how much you try to, be open, they don't always want that main thing. It's worse now. Okay, maybe that's why people keep talking about the Alpha, Gen Z, and all. It's worse now. It's getting worse because you are just an outsider completely. But then you needn't be that outsider. That 4-year, 5-year-old girl is going to grow and become a teenager. You see, the way you respond to that puppy and doggy issue will determine how much that child will trust you with coming forward with such discussions going forward. So don't wish it away. Don't let embarrassment become the reason for which you miss a teachable moment, a teachable opportunity. First, that was an adult talk. It was my dad, your daddy, and myself talking. There was no puppy, okay? That was an adult talk. But then, please try not to be eavesdropping where people are having a discussion. Two people, they didn't call you in. Don't go and listen. It's not good. Two, it was night. You are supposed to be on your bed. We talked you in. What are you doing out? Ask those questions. Okay? And then leave the following guidelines. Don't leave your room. Don't make it a habit to be wandering around after we talk to you in bed. Okay? If you need something, yes, you can always draw attention to. If you really need something, if there was something, yes. But don't, what are you doing outside your room? Make that an issue. And then, mommy, daddy, lock your door. Lock the door. You're having intimate relationships inside your bedroom and all of that. And, lock your door. Privacy. Teach that too. The child would also learn. Okay? So we're going to go on a short break now. When we return, okay, we'll take more questions and more comments. There are some more questions from our community members. When we return, we'll take those. Okay. Thank you for staying with us. I'm addressing you now, young couples, male, female, and please listen to me and listen carefully. Any woman that would not respect the father would not respect you eventually. The same thing, any man that would not respect his mother would not respect you. So as you are courting, open your eyes. At some points during marriage counseling classes, years gone by, we used to tell couples, it is better to separate than to divorce. Meaning, it is better for the courtship to be ended than for you to blindly go into a marriage and then begin going to this. There are things that should be outstanding, that should be red flags. I will repeat, young man, the person you are courting has a habit of complaining, my father did this to my mother, my father did this to my mother every time. Walk away. Yes, walk away. You see, that resentment about the father, it will be transferred to you without your doing anything. Don't you think parents telling children not to listen to adult conversations can make them curious and want to eavesdrop more? Well, it's a human thing. It's a human thing. Usually, it is said that people often are more drawn to doing things they asked not to do, especially within those parent-child relationship environments. But you need to put your foot down. You need to. You don't need to hand it down as a decree. You need to have a conversation about why that is not desirable. Okay, if anyone, it's not just children, buy into an idea, a concept, they're more likely to remain with that concept, with that idea, to do what that idea, that concept is demanding of them or requiring of them to do, than when you just say, don't do this. Okay? First, let's explore how that will make you feel as an individual. If some other person is dropping towards a personal issue you are discussing with another person, would you feel good? The child will tell you, no, I won't. No, you give a life example. Let's say yourself and John, okay? You are talking about that time that, you bedwet, and your friend and Paul came and was listening to where John and Chike, John was telling Chike, that time, I really felt embarrassed, so I bedwet, and he said, no, I don't want Paul to hear that. Yeah, that is how I'll feel if you are listening to what I'm saying. That's private. It's private. It's not for everybody, including you. It's your daddy and myself. It's between both of us, nobody else. Okay? You have that conversation, you give that example, the child is most likely going to buy into it. And it's a call and response thing. You remind the child, should there be any sort, remember the other time, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Okay? But most importantly, you have set a boundary. You have said, let's not do this because of this. Don't just say, let's not do this without saying the reason and then agreeing on the consequences for that happening going forward. If the child does not buy into it for one reason, he will buy into it for the other one. For instance, if you get to, continue eavesdropping or leaving your room when you should be in your bed sleeping, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that, Oh, sure, somebody said that might be going too far. No, it's not going too far. We understand reward and punishment. Every human being does. Okay? So, have the conversation, agree on the consequences or the rewards. Agree on the boundaries. Agree on responsibilities and repercussions. Okay? So if the child then doesn't listen and continues, then you bring down the stick. The consequence needs to happen. Don't just say it for the sake of saying it. When you say it, so when you're saying what the consequences are going to be, that's the time to be reasonable. Being reasonable must not happen at the point where you want to apply the consequence. No. Be reasonable accepting what that consequence is going to be at the time that you are agreeing on it. Okay? And if your child is like my son too, if you set a consequence that is high, we ask, Daddy, don't you think that's too much? Okay. So, and I know he's not the only person, the only child like that as he was growing up. He's a grown-up man now. Okay. But then you ask, Daddy, don't you think that that's too much? Okay. So you negotiate then what is not too much, what that child feels is an appropriate reprimand for disobeying or going contrary to establish, boundaries. But set the boundaries all the same. Set the boundaries in agreement with the child or with the children. So let everybody know their roles, their responsibilities concerning the boundary. And let everybody know what the consequences of overstepping the boundary would be before anything is committed or the boundary is broken. Let the person know, wow, I've done it. Yeah, let the person start having that conversation with himself or herself. I've messed up. Yes. Okay. I've had situations where somebody went and brought the cane and say, okay, what are you doing with the cane? I want to report myself. Then you know that child the message has sunk. So if you be magnanimous at that point, it's okay. Well, it's good to know they didn't do this right. So would it happen again? No. That you have said if this happens, the cane should follow or whatever other reprimand should follow. Shouldn't work at that time. The child has realized or did realize or gets to realize that I've done what I should not do and says, okay, I'm ready for my punishment. Don't also make that a habit. It backfires. Okay? Let go of what you should let go at the time that you should let go, especially when individuals show remorse, show understanding, take responsibility for their actions or inaction. Don't rub it in. It's counterproductive at that point. Okay? So yes. So that's that question. So the point is saying, because you said it's curiosity. We all are curious. But then you know what they say, curiosity does what? Kills a cat. Okay, so there's consequence for curiosity. Don't let your curiosity make you, overstep this boundary, please. It's not worth it. The consequence is not worth it. Let the child know. Let the children know. Okay? And then enforce the consequence if the boundary is broken. Enforce the consequence in love. Okay, like we say, don't ever react to your children when you are angry. Don't. You most likely would overdo whatever it is that you are going to do. The results are not always good. In whichever climb you hear me or you watch this video, don't, correct your children in anger. It doesn't go well. It does not. Most times it gets out of hand and you probably actually leave regretting your action more than what you are trying to correct or what you would have tried to correct. Okay? Yeah, so, and coming back to the video of today, where's the puppy? if you are following on this, tell me in the comments as a parent, okay, what you expect those parents to have said to that child. Just share in the comment. Go ahead in the comments. Okay? Yeah. Just drop that. What would you as a parent expect? What would you expect? What would you expect for any of the parents, whether the mother or the father of that child? What response would you have expected them to give to that child? Okay? Put in the comment and we'll come back and take those responses, and then we'll begin to round up the program. Thank you. Don't go away. The boy child takes the mother's lipstick and begins to paint his face, and the next thing you know is he has an effeminate orientation. No, the child is just being a child. He's just experimenting with things here and doesn't say this is what the sexual preference he or she has or he has. No, doesn't mean that. Or your female child prefers to wear your shoes as the father. And you say, okay, this child has a male. No. The child is just drawn to you as the father. Just let children be children, even as they are trying to navigate through the process of growing and becoming individual members of society on their own. Let's help them. Let's give them wings. Let's not chart routes that lead them to bed. Thank you for eventually go up, like, how did I get? We have such funny responses in the chat section. Okay, one community member says, I may actually buy a dog just to play it off. That could work. You go get the puppy, it costs you something. So you're paying for you're not locking up the door. But then it should not take away the conversation about what were you doing outside your room at that time. And then, having that conversation about don't eavesdrop. Okay? Buy the puppy, it will save you the embarrassment of getting to really explain the dog. That works. Another one says, I would answer the child with a funny response. What funny response would that be? That's vague. What's the funny response? Okay. The mother did try that. He said, what doggy? What puppy? Yeah. And the following funny response from both of them was silence. That's not funny. That doesn't help anybody. Wouldn't help the child, wouldn't help you going forward, in your relationship with that child. The child genuinely expects a response. So the first community member who says, I may actually buy a dog, just to play it off, that works. That still gets you to still continue to play the cover-up game. How long you want to cover some things up? You're going to have that conversation at some point. And you must have that conversation at some point. Okay? About mommy and daddy need time for themselves. Remember what we said at the top of the game. Whenever you come to this door and it's locked, don't bother knocking unless it's an emergency. And it better be an emergency. Somebody could tell you I couldn't reach where the milk is. It was an emergency. Oh, for that child, yes, it was an emergency, couldn't reach the milk. That's not a proper emergency. You wait, or you eat the cereal without the milk. Okay, that's not an emergency. So should you not describe what kind of emergencies? I think you should. You should agree, in that conversation, in that your family, about what kind of emergencies should warrant the children coming to knock on your door when you have told them, when this door is locked and we are inside, don't knock. That's what we mean by open conversation. Everybody understands, the drill, but there are some kind of emergencies that are really, really emergencies that nobody really, would put in that list. that happen, and the children are free to come and back on the door, and then you get out and just go and attend to it. Yes. There are things that are not scripted that happens, that get to happen at times. So just let the children know that if there's real emergency, some real other emergencies that are not in this list we have made, don't hesitate, knock on the door. But don't come to knock on this door when it's locked for any frivolous reason. Not for the milk, not for the cereal. Not for, go ahead, not for, I was looking for where my toy was. No, that's not an emergency. Oh, I thought I left my phone in your room. No, you wait. When the door is open, you now come and check for your phone. Okay, have those conversations. Don't hide nothing. Don't assume anything. What you don't discuss, you don't get, appropriate response for. You don't get appropriate behaviors for. If you don't discuss things, if you don't get into conversation with your children, agree on issues, you don't get appropriate behavior. Because there's nothing to measure appropriateness with if there had been no benchmarks established ab initio. So what's appropriate that you didn't discuss? The appropriate is known to you as a parent. It's not known to the child. So it will be wrong to take on the child for something he has or she hasn't bought into, doesn't have any information about. So it's your responsibility to have those conversations, agree on boundaries, agree on consequences for breaking the boundaries. Yes. And apply being reasonable about consequences at the time those conversations are being made. It's not, sorry, I'm going to put this, it's not 12 strokes of the cane for any of you that knock on the door. Come on. So the time that boundary had been broken, it's not when to start negotiating the 12 strokes of cane is too much. It has to be at the time that you are agreeing on consequences. And everybody must participate in that. If you have managed to build a communication relationship with your children and your family. It doesn't happen by accident, okay? You should build it. And then that child coming looking for a puppy is a perfect opportunity to put more building blocks on that relationship, to build that bonding, to build that trust with the child. Like we have said at the top of the program, your teenage children will not come to ask you, where is the puppy? If they heard by any chance that two of you are talking about doggy, no, the teenage children won't. They will laugh at you, maybe. They will just find it funny that, well, really? Are you kidding me? Okay. Yeah, they won't. Well, then if you have a naughty child, they could ask questions depending on which parent that they feel closer to have certain kind of situation, questions from, or have certain kind of conversations with. You can be sure even your teenage children can bring it up at some point. Maybe not. They might be not in the same way. Not where is the puppy, because they know what you are talking about. Yes, they mostly do. The 4 or 5-year-old doesn't. But going into a panic mode when such questions are asked by toddlers, by babies, 5, 6 years, 7-year-olds, would not solve the problem. You need to face the issue, okay, and give age-appropriate response. You can agree within your family what would be age-appropriate response in that situation. Remember, we always say, let your communication and your relationship with your children be determined and dictated by your culture, your tradition, your religion, your family value. So I apply those in having that conversation to let the child know what is and what is not, what should be and what should not be. Okay? So, it's been a very interesting podcast for today. You know, I'm delighted that you shared your time with us. I'm delighted for the engagement, the questions, the contributions I've made. But remember, please support us on the Slow Parenting podcast. Support us by subscribing. Share our podcast to your friends. Invite them over to join us on the live stream on YouTube. Okay, or share our videos, send to them. If you find any of these useful, please don't keep to yourself. Share, support this program. Help us to stay, online. Help us to retain this channel and then be able to talk to more parents and more families. Okay, your subscription will help us to go on doing this. We enjoy it, but then make us enjoy it the more. Okay. Thank you so very much for being with us today. It's still the Slow Parenting podcast, and it's still every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. Okay? If you miss the live stream, nothing spoiled, as they will say. Okay? Just go to the Slow Parenting podcast channel on YouTube. You'll find our previous videos. You can leave your comments. We would always respond. You can be sure about that. You can be sure about that. We will respond to your comments. And even when it's not a live stream, even on the videos, we'll respond to your comments. Okay. If you want to join us live, any episode, it's to go to YouTube and search for the Slow Parenting podcast. You join us live. You leave your comments, engage, make your comments, ask your questions, share your perspective on the issues that we're discussing, and we'll gladly sync with you as a community member. Thank you so very much for being with us today. I am happy to be here, and I'm also happy to remain here. Okay, I'll see you again next week. But between now and then, so a few other things would have happened. It's my birthday on Sunday, and I'm also going to be talking about a new book I have written about a very dear friend, my birthday celebration. If you check on the channel itself, you'll find, materials to, if you want to join us on Sunday, it will be live. It will be live streamed on YouTube too, so you can join us on Nostalgia Media. It's a Nostalgia Media premium event. So still available, it will be available live on the YouTube channel of Nostalgia Media. So thank you so very much. My name is still Richie Adewusi. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.